Hi everybody, welcome to Shivers. Today we're doing a pretty unique movie review for the new movie, The Long Walk. This is based on a Stephen King book. I myself have not read the book, so I just want to preface the review that way. But we do have a number of people in our monthly book club who have read the book, and they all say that this movie is very, very close to the book. It just has one or two deviants. So with that said, this is a unique movie review in that I'm going to do the rating first and then talk more about the story and some of my opinions as well. The reason why I'm doing the rating first is because this is a very special movie. This is something that is really going to change my mind and opinion for quite some time. I have now tried to record this video close to 10 times and I just keep crying, so you're just going to have to bear with me because I'm not doing it again. But this movie doesn't even need a breakdown for the review. This gets a 5 out of 5. This movie is, like I said, something special. I do think that absolutely every single person should be required to watch this movie. I have always been a fan of dystopian stories and horror. I read all of the Hunger Games and Divergent series books. I went to all the premieres of those movies. That was really my love back in high school. And being able to see it now from a Stephen King perspective with really fleshed out characters, not only are we able to connect with every single one of these characters that we meet on this long walk, but we're also just able to see the realism of this story. I talk all the time on how much I hate when politics gets brought into horror movies in particular, because I do think that they're meant to be an escape. The premise behind Shivers in the first place is using horror movies and characters to develop your empathy, to work through facing your fears, to connect with the story and the elements that are on your screen. And if it becomes too much, then you can just log off. And this movie is truly the summation of everything that I stand for. So again, as much as I don't want to bring politics into movies, this is a very, very, very rare exception. Because this is really the way that it feels like the world is going. And that's what makes things very complicated with this review, because it goes against me talking about politics, goes against my belief of having politics in a movie, but it does invite and invoke this wake up mentality. And even driving all the way home from the movie theater, this is a movie that's going to stick with me for a really long time and is really going to change, bear with me, is really going to change the way that I think about a whole lot of things. Everything that happened yesterday or the day before with Charlie Kirk, again, I don't want to be the one to talk about politics and just fast forward because I'm not going to sit on this high horse for long. But seeing the divide between everybody on social media, people in my regular life, it is absolutely crazy to me. These people are doing a job. These people in politics have this job and they don't care about you. They don't care about me. It's the same as the long walk. They don't have really names besides with each other. Everybody's just given a number. You are just a number. I am just a number. Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about me. Charlie Kirk doesn't give a fuck about me. They don't care about you. It's the same way that I feel about corporate. You are replaceable. I worked in HR and recruiting for a really long time, and I had to finally just wake up and face my fears and go outside of my comfort zone and go outside of everything that I've been taught of follow the rules and you'll be successful. Do what people tell you and you'll be successful. Because it's not true. Doing recruiting, doing HR, every single employee has an employee number. It is literally right in your face. And the idea that everybody's just kind of signing up for it and nobody's asking questions, nobody's trying to wake up because everybody's just really trying to survive, that at the core is what this movie is all about. And that's why it stings so much, because these people have personalities and character development and connections and evolution through something as simple as a walk. And to capture that in a story and in a movie and in something that, again, is really going to stick with me for quite some time, I couldn't be more grateful, but I also couldn't be more scared. I'm from my own perspective, you know, I live on my own. I do Shivers on my own. I'm very grateful for all of you guys and your community, and I'm hoping that the people who are coming to my reviews and my events kind of have this same sort of mentality as me, you know, a like attracts like type of thing. And so I hope I'm heard and I'm not just preaching, because that is, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Regardless, you know, that's as much as on the high horses that I'm going to get. From this movie in particular, every single thing is fleshed out. When we're thinking about, again, character development, when we're thinking about the actual storyline, when we're thinking about the logistics of people actually walking, you think about, oh, well, what would happen if it rained? What would happen if they got injured? What would happen if they got sick? What would happen if they ran out of food? What would happen if their shoe broke? Every single one of these questions that you could possibly ask is answered in this movie. And for somebody like me who is constantly looking at the details and looking at the logistics of everything, I am absolutely satisfied in all of this. So what we have is 100 boys, again, very Hunger Games style, that all voluntold that they have to participate in the long walk. From the get-go, I love the fact that we do not know what year it is. We don't know when this is happening. We have old cars, we have current things. We don't know when this is happening. So it's the idea that this could happen at any given point in time. We have the major, who is this military actual major, and he's kind of the one who's organizing all of these boys. Right from the get-go, we have Ray, who is our main character, and Pete, who is our pretty much other main character. Again, this entire movie doesn't work if we don't have good characters. So absolutely hats off to the actors of this movie, because you are locked in from moment one. We follow Ray in the car with his mom, and his mom's like, don't do this. We can turn around. You have the opportunity to turn around. The idea of the long walk, again, being able to volunteer, voluntold that they have to do this, is because the world has had this big war. There's a lot of famine and poverty. And so all of these people, these boys, get to volunteer for their state, even though it really only impacts them. But they volunteer for their state. If they are now the last one standing, they get whatever wish they want. So pretty much everybody up to this point has wished for riches. We have a couple of people in the movie who are walking and they have notebooks and they want to take pictures, and pretty much everybody has some sort of lucky talisman. Even the person who is really makes it pretty close to the end, he's this prepared almost athlete. And even him, he's like, I trust myself, I'm prepared, I trained, I did this, that's why I signed up. And even him, he has a lucky rabbit's foot in his pocket. So anyway, our main character, Ray, he's in the car with his mom at the beginning. She basically says, we can turn around. You don't have to volunteer. Like, this doesn't have to be a thing. And he's like, well, I really don't have anything to lose. So let's just go ahead and try it. And he's also doing it for a purpose, which we'll get to in a moment. But we then have Ray getting out of his car, taking cookies from his mom. It's a very wholesome moment. And her just being so sad at him leaving is very realistic and makes you cry literally 5 minutes into the movie. So Ray then meets Pete, who becomes really his partner in crime. Pete has this giant scar on his face, which also we'll get to in a little bit. And they both really are kind of coming to this with some secrets. So as the walk begins, the whole idea is that if you walk under 3 miles per hour, you get 3 warnings to pick up your pace and kind of get back to it, or you will get shot. Another kind of point that I want to mention of this, like, wake up, there are so many F words in this movie. I wish that there was, I'm sure there is a counter somewhere, but it's got to be somewhere. And so the idea that we still have free speech in all of this walking, and they're kind of like, fuck the major, we don't care about him, and they can't really do anything about it, is really great. But we're already seeing that in real life. You know, you can't even say the word red rum on freaking TikTok without them taking it down. You have to say unaliving. You know, 2 days ago was National Suicide Awareness Day, and the word suicide you can't say on TikTok. Like, it's fucking crazy. Again, that's why I'm saying please bear with me, because I know how annoying it is when people just kind of shout their opinions in the middle of things. But my point in all of this is that it's just really real. So as the boys are walking, we have this 18-year-old who is the first one to get a Charlie horse. If you watch the Red Band trailer for the movie, then this is what you see. His name is Curly. Also to mention and to know, I know this, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but that's just because this movie has me all riled up. All of these characters feel genuinely like Stephen King characters, so there is a bit of nostalgia. It feels like you're kind of watching it, which is great. You know, what carries this movie is the characters, because that's what has to. So each of them has their little lucky talismans, which is a part of this superstition. Even some of them who are like, I trust myself, like the athlete, I trust myself, I can do this, I can win, I'm a competitor, I'm an athlete, I got this, still has something that either reminds them of home or has this element of luck attached to it. So we then have Ray and Pete kind of carrying the morale of a lot of these players, we'll call them. And they end up banding together to create the 4 Musketeers. So everybody outside the Musketeers is still chiming into these conversations and still part of it. But really, after Curly, that first 18-year-old, dies, it is the reality sets in for everybody of this isn't just a casual walk on the street. This isn't just something that's streamed on TV, which is another point. You know, this is that Hunger Games vibe of people are watching. So what we, long story short, come to find out is that Ray's dad was teaching him all of these banned books and songs and movies. Again, very relevant to kind of what's going on right now. But the major found out about it, took Ray's dad out of their home and shot him on the street in front of Ray and his mom. So instead of wishing for riches at the end, Ray already says, my wish is that I'm going to take the assault rifle from the major and shoot him on live TV in front of all of these sick fucks that are watching all of this happen. Again, it's like the gallows. You know, you can stand there and watch from afar and just go, another one gone. That's terrible. RIP, but they must have done something to deserve it. Outside of seeing it just on TV or in person, now you get to see the reality of it. It's not there's a winner or anything. You also have a lot of underlying elements of the psychology and the psychological breaks that will happen along the walk, but also from the perspective of competition. You know, for me, I was a competitive cheerleader for a very long time. I love competition. I love fantasy football because I love competition. But as I get older and also into some of the more metaphysical stuff, the whole idea is that you are not supposed to be in competition with anybody because you're just doing your own thing. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. It doesn't matter if they're doing something even similar to you. You are in your own lane. And so what we see from the very beginning is Ray kind of just being like, yeah, I have a purpose. I'm here. My whole drive is to kill the major and make this happen as my final wish. And Pete, who we already know has some sort of history with violence because he has this giant scar on his face, he is the one who is saying, there's no point in having vengeance. We're here to actually make something of ourselves and make something out of this situation. So don't choose violence. Don't stoop to their level. Choose love. You have to choose love. So again, that's why it is so fucking important for everybody to go watch this movie. Moving on. So we have Pete, we have Ray really carrying the herd. We have a lot of other people and all of them really representing this different side of psychology in their walk and in their cadence even. We see injuries, we see sickness, we see people going to the bathroom. Again, all of this is working. From a competitive perspective as well, I'm always a big fan of reality TV. I love the challenge. And what I think is the hardest challenge is War of the Worlds. And so part of War of the Worlds, and in their finale, they have to walk behind this tank, and whoever stops walking first is the loser. So we already have the long walk in a reality TV show, and we're yelling and we're screaming. We have already watched that in a reality TV show. How close can we get to reality of this actually becoming something that's real? So As the boys are walking and people are starting to build on the sidelines, they have signs of "Go, person, go." Again, each of them has a number assigned to them. So we don't know that they're cheering for individual people, but we know that they're watching because they're coming out and they're cheering, or at least like pulling chairs up to the sideline, which is just so sick. So the boys start really banding together and trying to help each other. And as the walk continues and people are starting to really get warped, there's a handful of them that are running up to the tank itself and trying to grab the gun and trying to harm the military people who are really just like sitting on the tank. And all for like, we have to do something mentality. Ray makes a point in the very beginning as well that yes, we are volunteering for this opportunity of a lifetime, but if somebody tells you that the only way out of a fire is one singular escape hatch that only one person can get to, are we really volunteering or are we competing for the end? Like, it's all a matter of perspective. And that's also what bleeds through in this entire movie, which is what's more important than anything else, is that this is all a power of perspective and all a matter of respect while we talk about different perspectives as well. And that's what's also incredibly important. What we have between Pete and Ray is this true yin and yang. You also have Pete, who is somebody who is literally a black person, Ray, who is literally a white person, standing side by side, having these negative and the positive, positive and the negative moments. It's absolutely beautiful. It is perfection. And the opportunity that we get to see them really band together more and more as we go along, we then see secrets starting to come out, people starting to be real. Even that person who is like, I'm an athlete and I believe in myself and my capabilities, right towards the end, he's one of the people who gets sick. And Pete is like, can you finally just say something real? Can you say something that has any substance whatsoever? And he tells us all that the major is his dad. And he thought that he was just a bastard child and didn't know that the major knew that he was his son. But he says that there are multiple of us. There's dozens of kids that are birthed by the major, all with the intention that they're going to be the ones who really win the long walk because they are basically have the DNA of a military soldier. And he's like, my wish was that like if I win or if I won, that I would actually get to have a relationship with my dad. So somebody who comes into this with competition at number one, I am number one, I'm going to win, this is amazing, it's all on me. That's the person who then breaks down and tells the truth of something that's actually real. That's also the encouragement in having conversations with one another. My biggest pet peeve is ignorance is bliss. If you want to bury your head in the sand and pretend that none of this is happening, you're going to get ran over. And so the same thing for grief, the same thing for life. You know, if you just can't accept the idea that nobody gets out of this game alive, you're just going to keep begging for more time while you're continuing to waste it. And that's also the message that continues to get pushed in this movie. And they even say that as well. Ray has that conversation with Pete, is that the only thing that's promised in life is death. So we have to come to terms with it. All while these people who are pretty close in age to them are getting blown to bits around them. The sting of it does not change. Every single time that somebody gets shot, Ray puts his hands over his ears and they all kind of flip out in a minute, which just feels so realistic. You can watch something like that on TV and just disconnect yourself from it. It's the same way as working from home. These people who you're talking to on Zoom feel like they're almost like celebrities because you're never going to see them in person, more likely than not. So the moment that you actually do, there's a soul tied to it. And that's how it really comes across with this movie, is that there's an acknowledgement of soul. So we get to the very ending, and again, spoiler alert, we have just Pete and Ray, which was really predicted all along, but you're still rooting for some of these other people who kind of stand up to the challenge along the way. We get to I guess you can kind of call it like the town square, and they say like this is the last final stretch. This is as far as most of the people have made it. And so these are where the diehard fans will come and stand to see what the ending is, like a whole bunch of fucking sickos. And so Pete is like the whole entire time, choose love, choose love, choose love. And Ray is like, no, we have a purpose. I have a purpose. I'm going to kill that fucking major and you can't change my mind. So we get to the very ending and Ray sees all of these people kind of cheering for them. And it's just this, again, like sick fuck moment. And he's like, you know what, Pete, you're right. I choose love. And he backs himself out. Pete's like, no. Like, let's go. Let's make this happen. And then, well, actually the reverse. So Pete is like, all right, Ray, like, I see all of these sickos. You have a point. I'm just going to kind of sacrifice myself. They then switch. And Ray essentially sacrifices himself for Pete, which is nobody, you would be an absolute millionaire if you saw that twist coming. So Ray does get sacrificed, and Pete, who has been the one who is saying choose love, choose love, choose love this entire time, then all of these fireworks start going. Again, it's this really like Hunger Games moment of you're the winner, you have all the riches in the world that you want now. But he's like, I just watched now 99 of my friends who have become friends die in incredibly brutal ways. How is this something that I need to be celebrating? Why are we doing this? And so the major is like, great job, son. What do you wish for? So he says, I wish for this gun from your person next to you. And he's like, that's it. So he grabs the gun, he shoots the major. And that is how the movie ends. So again, I really don't want any of this to come across as preachy. However, like I said, this movie is something special. This is a movie that's going to stick with me probably for the rest of my life, hopefully for the rest of my life. And I hope that you go watch it and sort of experience and feel the same way. To me, this movie is damn near close to perfection and hopefully a call to arms, a call to action. I listened to The Rise of the Runaways as I was leaving by Crown the Empire, and it is the perfect soundtrack to this movie. So do yourself a favor and kind of pair them together and get kind of angry, but also wake up. So again, thanks for bearing with me on this one. I know it's really different than our usual cadence, but I hope it kind of cracks to a level of vulnerability and honesty. So thank you as always for your support. We'll keep it lighter next time, and I'll see you then.